Very, very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for braving it out, especially during this testing time. My name is Wasif Hani, and I am the fundraising manager for St. Jude India Childcare Centers. Just before I begin, I'd just like to acknowledge my colleagues, Usha ma'am. Hi ma'am, how are you? Sanjeev ji. Sanjeev ji is the reason why I'm here. So, inki mohabbat hai, inki inayat hai that I've got this opportunity to spend some time with you guys and speak to you on this topic. So, fundraising is a topic that we all are interested in. I am not your superstar kalakar fundraiser. I am a person who stands in the line, waits for his turn, gets the opportunity, starts a conversation, builds a relationship, and then finally converts a potential client into a donor. So I will be giving you like a run through. This is not going to be any linear kind of a talk. This is going to be very non-linear in nature. I will be picking out certain topics from the field of fundraising, which hopefully can be useful. So yeah, let's begin this. So now I won't go into the details of what is fundraising. We all are aware of that, but let's just brisk through some essentials. Where exactly we fundraise from, I'll quickly go through this. We have 5 major categories. The first category is CSR. We are all aware of the 2% of the profits that are given from an organization for a social cause. That's the There are many foundations in India as well as abroad which are inclined towards solving a specific problem. You've got Azim Premji, you've got Bill and Melinda Gates, so many of them. This is another major category where we can pitch and then receive our funding. Another category is high net worth individuals, H&I as we know them. These are those individuals who've got $1 million and who want to share a part of that million. They are billed through because nobody knows as to whether they really want to give. So you wouldn't know that unless and until you ask them. Always remember that. Then another sector is the retail sector. The retail sector is basically the online sector, the individual giving, another major space, very popular in Bangalore. This is a space that a lot of funding that comes in can go into gap funding in a lot of /aggregators/ the gateway basically for corporates, for NGOs. In today's time, facilitators are a major source of income, be it Give India, Dasra, Satwa. So frankly speaking, if you really want to get major funding today, you better be in the good books of Give India and Dasra, really, because the market is really inclined towards them. So this is based now, if you ask me, is there any specific division? Yes, there are 2 divisions. One division is the restricted funding. So your CSR funding, your foundation's funding falls under the restricted umbrella. Whereas unrestricted is basically you have your retail donations, your H&I donations. And why unrestricted is important for you? Because you're able to go for gap funding. You're able to go for expenses that many of the donors are not inclined towards. A lot of your operational, a lot of your admin expenses, can be covered through the unrestricted funding umbrella. So that's an important note. All right. Now, if you ask me, Wasif, do you know any kind of facts? So facts to matlab aakde hain, aakde aate rehte har saal. But why I want you to understand as to like 64,000 crores was raised back in 2000 and 2001, and then another 73,000 crores the next year. So you need to understand that there is a huge pool of money in the market existing today. But हमें हमारी जेब से मतलब है कि हमारे पास कितना पैसा आया और कहां से आया. So you need to understand that how is this 64,000 broken up? Is it broken up in a way where a majority of it is leaning on one specific sector? Like, is it that 80% comes in from CSR, or is it that 50% comes in from individual donations? No, there's nothing as such. With research, we've realized that it's equally distributed. So if you go to see, as the numbers say, 25% from FCRA, that is your foreign funding, 28% from domestic, that is CSR, 28% from retail, and the last 20% from H&Is and family philanthropic foundations. So you need to understand that when you're preparing your strategy of fundraising in your NGO, you need to, as the saying goes, put in your eggs in all baskets. You can't lean towards one specific sector. That you would say that 80% of my funding comes from CSR. So that's that's going to be a ticking time bomb for you. So where you are creating a recipe for disaster by leaning on one specific sector for a long span of time, because you don't know the laws in the country, when it is going to change, how is it going to change, and that might backfire in your strategy and might backfire in the existence of your NGO. So you really need to spread it. You need to concentrate equally on foundations, on CSR, on HNIs, on Dasra, or whoever. You need to equally focus on these categories. All right. Steps in fundraising, frankly speaking, कोई steps नहीं है. There is no rocket science. ये सब बोलने की बातें हैं, ये सब पैनल डिस्कशंस की बातें हैं कि ऐसा करोगे वैसा करोगे तो आप ये सक्सेस पाओगे, ऐसा कुछ नहीं. You have to understand your sector. Your NGO falls under which sector. You have to use common sense. You have to use good internet speed and Google. That's it. And you need a very sweet tongue. कोई ये नहीं कह रहा आपको कि आप मस्का मारो. ये बहुत ही एक तरीका होता है, एक एहतराम होता है, where you handle yourself as a true professional. So in my journey at St. Jude's, I've realized that, three things hold the key, perhaps, like, I mean, you do. So the first thing is like, let's take this. Yeah. Let's take research. So good research will lead to a good organization, good success. But frankly speaking, great research leads to great success. And wherever, whenever, whatever has happened in this world has happened through great research. Whatever success stories we hear today, how have they started off? How are these startups, being so successful? It is because they have done damn good research. So if you really want to understand how and where I get my funding from, you have to understand who will support you. For that, you need to do good research. For that, you need to read. You need to read articles. You need to do research on the companies that are supporting you. Now, so for instance, अगर आप health में हो, तो you need to understand simply कि कौन है जो health में support कर रहा है. Which are the CSR companies, concentrating only on health? Which are the individuals who are concentrating on health? Which are the philanthropic organizations that are fully focused on health? You need to do those research. You need to follow these companies on social media. A very important thing is that you need to follow them on Twitter, on LinkedIn. कि ये क्या कर रहे हैं, ये क्या बोल रहे हैं, इनका where is their strategy going? How am I supposed to find a connect with them? Is there any kind of frequency that I can see where I can build with them, some kind of a common ground that I can create with them? You need to read, you need to understand that, and of course you need to follow. अगर एक रूम में बैठते हैं तो वो बिग बॉस का घर ही हो जाएगा, बट यू नीड टू हैव ग्रेट कॉलीग्स, counterparts who will exchange ideas, who will exchange learnings, be friends with them, because they see your success as their success. You need to talk to them. From that you will understand, you will get knowledge. So this is research. Now me, for my matter, I mean, like when I started off in Sinha, you won't believe I had to create my database. So that's what a fundraiser would have to do initially. क्या करेगा वो बैठा है उसके लैपटॉप के साथ. He has to start off somewhere. He has to create his database. He has to do calling. He has to actually call a receptionist and speak to her or him and help them understand कि CSR क्या होता है. Help them understand कि आपका CSR का बंदा HR में बैठा है, आपका CSR का अलग डिपार्टमेंट है, मुझे वहां फॉरवर्ड करो वो कॉल को. I'm breaking this down to the lowest common denominator because this is a reality. This is not that category of life you pick up the phone and you get your funding going. No, this is that category where you're sitting in the market and you're competitive in nature to get your funding. So there you create a database. Now, another major aspect is lead generation. Lead generation ये होता है कि you save 8 to 9 months of time creating a database when you can get that lead from a prominent member in your organization. आप कहीं भी जाओ, जो professors of social development, they will come up to you and tell you that if your board doesn't help you get leads, that person should not be on the board. So frankly speaking, the first person to help you out in getting a lead is your board member, because the board member has access. He has the key to other organizations who are CEOs in other organizations, to board members of other organizations, and he can at least give you, the fundraiser, an introduction. Then you have to take it forward. आपको आगे वो conversation लाना है, आपको वो relationship build करना है, and then you have to do a conversion. So there's a lot of relationship building going on. कहते हैं कि numbers का game है, ये कोई numbers का game है, ये relationship building का game है. आप conversation start करो, आप एक relationship build करो, and you maintain that relationship. Numbers तो अपने आप आ जाएंगे. So this is basically lead generation. Of course, you have to use LinkedIn. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I've got most of my funding through LinkedIn, where I've got connected to CSR personnel there. You have to understand कि आप 100 messages दोगे तो 3 लोग reply करेंगे, 3 लोग reply करेंगे तो 1 conversion होगा. So the thrill and agony is a part of fundraising. Good days and bad days, win some, lose some. It's a part of a fundraiser's life. Then a very important aspect is proposals. Many overlook this, because they say ho jayega, are ye hoega, wo hoega. No, it doesn't happen that way. In a professional manner, the proposal is going to be sitting on the CSR committee's table for not one but many meetings. That will be sitting on the due diligence table and of an auditor, not for one but for many meetings. So you have to create a very crisp proposal. Nobody's asking you to make an encyclopedia journal of it. No, just make a 10-page proposal. Talk about your future, talk about your present, talk about how the donor, when he donates, will feel elated that, yeah, it's because of me that this organization is going to make a difference. It's because of me, the donor, this organization is going to get the impact 10x. You have to make the donor feel committed and be a part of your journey. So really speaking, agar aap dusre NGOs mein dekhoge, it's unfortunate to see you still find grammatical mistakes. You still find low definition photographs. So why? I mean, invest in human capital and get a good proposal. So this will help you advance to the last stage, where the decision stage is taking place. Yeah. So where else to tap, if you ask me? Where else, Wasif? I mean, abhi aapne ye keh diya, abhi aur kahan tap kar sakte ho? So see, a very important aspect is basically crowdfunding platforms. So you've got Keto, you've got Impact Guru, you've got Donate Cart. So you need to understand कि हर बार आपको पैसे कमाना नहीं है. There are some times where you need to also reduce the cost. So cost एक ऐसी चीज है कि your NGO will have a lot of expenses. Yeah, the costs are going to be increasing time to time. You need to understand a strategy, or you need to build upon a strategy where you can reduce that cost, reduce your fundraising targets, and concentrate on your program activities. For example, there's a lot of nutrition. Yeah, there's a lot of nutrition that NGOs look for, very high cost whereas nutrition is concerned. Try tying up with organizations, partner NGOs, or other crowdfunding platforms that can help you get in-kind donations. So that way your nutrition cost can reduce. You have Rise Against Hunger. What a wonderful NGO. You have Donate Card, wonderful website. Lakhs of rupees are raised there. Whatever nutrition you want is then delivered at your doorstep for free. I mean, what can be better than that? I mean, that way enormous amount of lakhs of rupees are then saved in your NGO that way. Yeah. So that's one thing. Another aspect is employee engagement. You have to understand that a lot of corporates will come forward and say, okay, I don't have money today, but I'd like to do something with your beneficiaries. Okay, sure. You don't slam the door at him. You invite him inside and you tell him, what can you do? Try finding out, okay, what can you do for my beneficiaries? Can you do some training program for my parents? Can you do some maybe art and craft activities for my children? Go ahead and build that relationship. So यहाँ पर employee engagement का ऐसा है, you will find the love and affection in the later phase of life. Because those people, those employees who are involved in the engagement process with your NGO will then become champions of your cause tomorrow. They will spread the word of mouth. They will tell their friends and families to individually donate to that NGO because they have been involved with the NGO. Employee engagement is a very, very big market to tap. And frankly speaking, a lot of NGOs now have started having leads specifically for employee engagement. So that's one thing. And another thing is matching grants. So a lot of these individual donations come in from corporates. And the corporate says, okay, my employees have given in 15 lakhs. Chalo, I as the corporate will give another 15 lakhs like a matching grant and give 30 lakhs to the NGO. So matching grant is something very latest in the market. ये बहुत ही एक Indian market for that matter. ये अभी हुआ है and बहुत popular हो रहा है. AT Chandra Foundation is an avid supporter of this, and Satwa is an avid supporter of this. So whenever you get an opportunity to do a matching grant, don't lose out on that. So yeah, I mean, apart from that, I've got 5 minutes left. Great. So apart from that, yeah, any secret ingredients you ask me? There are many secret ingredients, but they are not secretive in nature. It's just that you have to tell a beautiful story. एक story एक ऐसी चीज है जो बहुत ज्यादा impact रहेगा and it's there deep in your subconscious. You plant that seed in the subconscious mind of your potential donor by giving out a great story. Nobody is asking you कि आप ढिंडोरा पीटो, अरे वो road cross किया और उसका टांग टूट गया. We don't do all of that. We don't do आप ढिंडोरा मत पीटो. You don't sell guilt. Period. Don't do that. But you narrate a beautiful story which your donor can relate to and which your donor can keep with him or her, for the rest of his life. That's really important. Another aspect, the harder you try, the luckier you get. My CEO Anil Nair has always told me that, and that's what I always do. And there's nothing much to explain in this. It's very self-explanatory. So आप जितना ज़्यादा कोशिश करो, उतनी ज़्यादा कामयाबी आपको नसीब होगी. And yeah, follow-ups. How simple this might sound, how lowest common denominator this is, but believe me, fundraising is lost if there is no follow-up. You have to follow up. Nobody's asking you, kya ho mera credit card kharido? No. You professionally follow up with the client on a monthly basis in the best manner possible. Nobody is asking you to harrow that person. The follow-ups is something really important. Okay. Tomorrow, this is my last slide. Tomorrow, So these are not my own tippanis. These are basically the research works and the outcome of the research works where I have given you, where I put up these points. So it's said that 10 to 20 top NGOs of this country will survive in the long run. The rest of it will die at some point of time in their journey, in their life. So you as an NGO need to decide which side of the park you want to stay in. So you need to come out with strategies to be at the top to survive. You need to come out with a strategy to develop a sustainability fund to sustain your organization. You can't just income aya kharcha karo. No, you need to develop reserves. You need to develop sustainability funds so that you are existing even in the next 10, 20 years. FCRA, the foreign currency, but it's going to be a headache tomorrow because sometimes you feel like the ugly duckling in the house, where FCRA is going to be tightened tomorrow. So that ways you have to understand that you got to concentrate on local funding. You got to concentrate on retail fundraising because that's an unrestricted bit where you can allocate your expenses the way you want it. So just concentrate on the local market. You have companies that are foreign companies, but they are listed in the Indian market. So they are a local company. You can tap them as well. That's another great market to look at. Use a costing lens. I've already explained what a costing lens is. Many of the NGOs overlook this. You really need to look at this. You really need to cut costs, not at the expense of human capital. You need to improve learning and development for your staff, because if he's or she is good, that person should stay. I mean, that person deserves to stay. So you need to invest in that person to stay. There's always a tenure of 2.5 years of an employee in an organization. You need to make sure that the employee stays with you. वो invest कर रहा है आप में नहीं, बेशक आपको भी उसके ऊपर invest करना है. And yeah, my last bit is basically you multiply your database. How do you multiply your database? As I said, people will champion your cause in your journey. You will come across people who will meet you, who will talk to you, who will understand you, who will empathize with you. They will become, they will then develop their databases with their friends and families and pass on that database to you. And that's where you multiply it. So yeah, this is my talk. I mean, I had my 15 minutes of fame, and here I am. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer you guys. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. That was a very wonderful presentation. And the story part that you just said reminded me of the ad that we usually come across, which is a blind man having a placard saying, "I'm blind, I cannot see." And the story changes, saying, "It's a beautiful day and I cannot see."
Okay.
Yeah. So in that story, that's very important, that how we present our proposals.
Absolutely.
For fundraising.
Absolutely. Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt.
Wasif, I have no words actually. As a fundraiser myself, as an NGO myself, somewhere we celebrate those short success of funding that we've got. Your contents, which was impact packed, shook me out of my slumber, and this is going to be my screensaver for a few months. Yeah, it was really very wonderful. Having said that, my only experience as an NGO helping the patients at the Tala Hospital, I find that raising for a pediatric, I mean, not because you're coming from St. Jude's, but we help both pediatrics and adult both. Finding funding for adult is a little more challenging than for, so therefore, the story that you spoke about, the content that was, packed with a lot of senses makes great sensibility when it comes to pediatric funding. But for adult, I think there are many other NGOs who are also selling the same boat. I mean, they would also probably agree with me, but overall it was very, very wonderful. So lullaby for sleep and take you out of the slumber is your presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much.
No, I'm lost. I don't know what's happening. I thought I was going back to my seat and drink some water, but then suddenly a question came out.
Hi.
Yeah.
One definitely you said that there is a peer level support, so we can depend on you for that, I'm sure. So I noted that point for sure.
Yeah, sure. Sure, no problem. I've always been a fundraiser where I have got donors who wanted to give for a different cause. I have passed on them to other NGOs as well without any qualms. I mean, that's I'd be more than happy.
Yeah, the point people have is what about the administrative cost which happens? How do we, especially in the framework of what we work in Tata Memorial Hospital,
right,
it becomes very difficult for us to plan for that administrative expense.
Absolutely.
So is there any way, if you have immediately, or we can talk about it later?
Retail fundraising.
So
retail
that is
fundraising. That is something you need to increase. You need to invest time in doing retail fundraising, in increasing the bucket of unrestricted funding.
Right.
Then only these admins.
True. I was thinking about that when you mentioned that, but definitely what happens is that even that fund comes directly into the hospital. The charter for the usage doesn't allow much for us to use in maybe they have to redefine how is that the definition of the fund which is coming into the foundation, because what happens even in the retail, let's say we have 1,000 people coming into and donating over there, it comes as 1 crore, but that we cannot be apportioned for administrative expense as of now. That becomes a little complex because the fund has come into the Tata Memorial Hospital account.
Right.
So that becomes a little difficult.
Sure.
For y'all, it's different because you're working from a St. Jude perspective.
Right.
Whereas when we are trying to raise as individuals, or let's say Tata Memorial Hospital itself is an NGO.
Right.
When we try to raise funds within that premises, that becomes a little complex to create administrative expenses like resources, what you said, the team and research work. That becomes a little difficult. Maybe not easy answer, but that's a complex we all face actually.
Right. Isn't there a cap where given by if a corporate has donated to Tata Memorial, you always have the liberty of spending about 4 to 5% in the admin space. So isn't
that doesn't come as of now from the way we understand right now. We are not getting to see that. Maybe we'll have to look at it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was where we were. If you have anything, you can share later on also.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Probably do some reading and get back to you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a small point. Can I speak? Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening. Who's this?
Okay,
I was watching the crowd. Hello? Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
My point is, you said that tomorrow you're going to have only 10 or 20 top NGOs survive. Now, how do you kindly clarify? Because I, on the other side, feel that more and more NGOs are needed, more and more people are required to bridge the gap. And you say only 10 or 20 survive. I don't know.
So this is an outcome of research work. So if you want to take your chappals out and beat up this person who's written this statement, you will have to talk to my professor in SP Jain. So this was an outcome of his research. I personally don't endorse it, but since he's one of my gurus, I have put this statement up here on the presentation. So yeah, so I wish you all the very best on not being of those NGOs who die in the long run, but being among the top 10, 20 NGOs.
I don't know. I've been in SP Jain also, but then I think there is more and more need.
Have you had Dr. Shrikant? Have you had
Against
Dr. Shrikant as a professor? He is a wonderful person. I love him to death. Ask him, and he will be more than happy to explain it to you.
Yeah, what name you said, SP Jain?
Shrikant, Dr. Shrikant.
Okay.
So there are many Shrikants. I'm talking about Shrikant that is there in today's time.
Okay. Thank you.
From sir. Wow, I'm eating up everybody's time now. Any other questions? Online? इजाजत है तो फिर मैं Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wasif, for this wonderful presentation and to wake each one up over here by saying that 10 or 20 are going to be here. And like every year, we've been seeing NGOs being added to our list, especially in Tata Hospital. So it's really shaken us all up. And I think we're wide awake to say that, okay, now we're going to ensure that we raise enough of funds to be there. Thank you. Moving on, the ways of our working have changed over the last 2 years. We found new ways, and there's something called as the new normal. We are trying to help people achieve the organization's vision and mission. So now I invite Prabhat Sinha to come and talk about organizational development, the changes that are needed so that we can still impact lives. He's a patient advisor at Pfizer and Chief Patient Officer at Pfizer.
So, good morning, everyone. I'm not standing as representing any organization. Whatever I'll be talking on this forum, I've been talking is my own view. So it is not about any particular organization what I represent, but yes, I work with Pfizer. I head the patient advocacy function with Pfizer. Now, most of the year, for the last 4 years, I've been talking something around social media, communication, but today is a very important topic. And I think it sets up a toll when Banga sir sitting in Delhi gets worried that I should not be among those groups which is struggling to survive, right? It's very important. And I think Wasif Bhai's session sets a very beautiful tone. It's all about survival, right? For everybody. As an individual, we have been very fortunate that we have survived, right? In difficult time. Organizations have survived, companies are struggling. So it's all about survival and being relevant and being adaptive in nature. Now, and one thing we all have understood is about change. And whether we are resistant to change or we are open to change. This is what defines an individual or as an organization. There's nothing new that I'll be talking in next 15 minutes. But what I'm going to focus and bring your attention back on a subject which is not as interesting as fundraising, right? Fundraising, I remember when I used to work with non-profit, if you keep a fundraising session immediately after lunch, best time, nobody will sleep, right? Because that is something which everybody wants to hear and participate. But when you keep a session like organizational development, research, you have to find a right muhurt for that, right? But anyway, the first is that just why it is important. Second is that what we talk about organizational development. I need not to talk. Google is a great teacher. Go and learn. There are enough articles. There is enough material. Many of the organizations sitting here are an example of how they have transformed their organization sitting in this room itself. And you need not to go to somewhere else to kind of read those case studies. It exists right here. And the third is that how to make it a priority. And the questions somebody asked is that how do we find the salary or the administrative cost, right? And now when it becomes to developing something, it's additional cost. So how to make that possible? Now, before that, what is the per kilometer that Uber charges today? Though it's variable, but almost per kilometer for every kilometer that we we ride any or any taxi. Yes. 34 rupees per kilometer. If you would have come by your own vehicle, how much it would have costed? So maybe 100 or 150, whatever. So you paid some, 3 times more. Why that taxi guy charged 3 times more? Only service, or is there anything else? So sir has paid some 3 times more. What would be those different component for which he has paid 3 times more? Can you just speak up? Convenience. Ease means somebody drove, then?
Sir, not counting his parking charges.
Okay, but okay. Need to survive. For whom? No. Just come back to this particular thing, that why we pay that, or why the tax, the driver or the company or the taxi owner is charging that 20 rupees. That is where the all I'm going to talk.
His time, for his energy, for childhood later in the service.
Yeah.
The convenience, his time, his labor, is
What about that taxi?
the vehicle maintenance.
Yeah, vehicle is also very important, right? Driver is there, fuel is there, maintenance is there, insurance is there. So if you break all these costs, that also costs. So sometimes we feel like 5 rupees, if I have a vehicle which runs 20 km per hour, so 5 rupees kilometer hoना चाहिए, 25 रुपए क्यों दूं? And then when you change vehicle, it or the Oryx charges something else, Uber charges something else. That is where so your immediate problem was coming from point A to B, right? Which you wanted to solve. Now, one option was riding by ourselves or taking a service. Now, think about project and organization now, right? Project as a passenger and your vehicle as your own organization, right? Majority of people will come to you, or you will go to a client and saying that I am here to solve your problem, right? What Mr. Wasif talked about beautifully is I need to organize a camp which costs me 20 rupees, and we feel very proud saying that no, 20 rupees ही लगता है, मैं 21 रुपए नहीं लूँगा, 20 रुपए ही लूँगा, because I am keeping my organizational cost as minimum as possible. Now that person says, okay, fine, because that person also wants to make bigger impact. So he will give you 20 rupees to do that, right? But then you are missing out on many things. Maybe salary, maybe there are many more opportunity costs. As ma'am said that parking charge, there are many variable costs. So when we talk about, always remember projects like passengers and your organization as that vehicle which is supposed to perform. Now, as again, what he said is that you also want to be there in that space or market as an organization if you want to survive, right? Now, why organization development becomes very important, and it has become, it is important, it has been important, but I think it is becoming more and more important. The reason is that, and it's a pure definition, nothing, no, I just copied it from one of the definition which was important, which looked interesting was, first is it's a process. Second, if you want to be most effective and sustain over long run, if you don't want to die out in those 10 wale mein nahi aana chahte, and if you want to continue creating the impact, right? And I used to, 21 saal pehle when I started working with NGOs in Uttar Pradesh, in the district where I used to work, Shahjahanpur and Sitapur. Today, the NGO partners with whom I used to work, I think 90% of them don't exist at all. They could not manage 10 years back. आज नहीं, 10 साल 15 साल पहले खत्म हो गए. वहां पे एक आश्रम बच गया. I remember शाहजहांपुर में एक आश्रम हुआ करता था, सर्वोदय सेवा आश्रम or something, At that point of time, they used to get enormous fund, FCRA and all those funds. आज वो आश्रम ही है वहाँ पे, rent पे दे दिया उन्होंने building, but they are unable to continue the great work that they were doing. The reason is because they could not adapt to this change.
When you say most effective, what exactly?
Most effective, whatever you are doing, there is a see, if you want to support or help patients, right? Now you have your own effectiveness varies from organization to organization. You have set up an indicator that, okay, as an organization, we are doing counseling, we are doing it to 200 patients. Tomorrow you want to continue doing effectively. So whatever is your goal, whatever is your impact, it will vary organization to organization, right? But effectiveness also is that how cost effectively, how impactfully you are delivering that.
I would think that also has to be something with how the internal capacity that you're talking about helps the organization to deal with the environment.
Definitely.
Only then the effectiveness will come.
Right? That is one. There are many other factors also. Definitely, that is one. Now, what I want to highlight on next is, and I'm not going to read this out. Go on Google and read. There are many theories that what organizational development process is all about. But only thing, remember that it's a process. It is not one-time training. It is not one-time assessment. One consultant comes. No, it's a whole process which goes in a circle, right? Somebody has to diagnose, somebody has to prescribe, somebody has to monitor. That is how our body, goes to the next level. Similarly, organization has to be. The only thing I want to highlight is that don't leave your vehicle out of the scope. Most of the time, we are so obsessed with our projects, we forget our organization. Right? घर ही नहीं रहेगा तो कल के दिन में पोस्ट किसको करेंगे? गाड़ी ही नहीं रहेगी तो 25 रुपए चार्ज किसको करेंगे? And that is so important because the good work, each one of you sitting here, what you do, imagine after 10 years if you don't have resources to do that. That is going to not impact you only. It is going to impact so many people who are getting benefit from you today. Now, out of that whole cycle, one thing which is very important is the assessment. And it's not only assessment, it's an honest assessment. Most of the time when we get an invitation to do something this, we say, nahi, ye to hum karte hi hai. But there is a lot of subjectivity attached to this. And these slides, you will get it, I think organizers will send, but assessing your organization to time is very important. And not on indicators what you feel important. Indicators which are important. And if anything is important for an NGO, I think someplace I've kept a question mark that it is not NGO, it's an organization. Because organization development is organization development. Whether you put it out for a startup or for an NGO or for a corporate, it remains the same, more or less. Because organization works with the same money, people, and whatever you define. So nothing is going to change much. Now, majority of the time, when we say that survival, the last slide, why it happens? Because it's ability to adapt to that change. It's not that what I feel good. It's what the environment asks for. Example, FCRA organizations, they struggled. And second is that survival also depends that how you want to grow, right? But most of the time, it is whose job? Now, who will help me to be ready with this change or to grow? And that's why this whole story is about 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody, right? We leave it on this, right? That will do. So organization development will leave on these 4 people. Everybody, somebody, anybody, nobody. And I'm not making it a generalized statement, so pardon me. There are organizations who have invested on this and they have seen the result out of it. But even you are an organization of 3 people, you cannot leave it to these 4, consultants in your organization. And that is where in that whole priority and importance matrix, you have to feel that where you need to put this. Everything is important. Everything is a priority. But if you want to put it in this grid, right, that today if I have 20 tasks, whether I'm going to put it in which grid, high priority, high importance, or I continue to do something which is, low priority and high importance, it is on you. But does organization development even get a seat on this grid. Many times, even with bigger organizations, it has not got that seat, right? And today, it's a different story altogether. Now, and that's why, if even as old as this quote, that it is not the strongest of the species that survive, not the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. It's I don't know how many times we read this, but do we really adapt? Now, organization development to me is a smart investment to multiply impact, right? And you have to ask for it. When you are building your project proposal, the part is that how do I get money for it? You can also go and for example, employee engagement. You can go to a corporate and say that I need your HR person to help us to take us through this whole organizational development process. Somebody might be very experienced in that organization who will give a time, or a team of individuals will give their time to help you to dissect, because you cannot do yourself. So this could also be a nice employee engagement project, which you can go and ask, which sometimes becomes very costly one if you go to a institutions or a consulting agency. But this is important. You have to now start even projecting this and go to somebody and ask that this is what a project looks like. And there are individuals, there are organizations who have got these kind of support from individual consultant, employee volunteers, or even funding for this. Right? There are a lot of international funding agencies. They keep doing this kind of work. So if you go and search, you may apply for grant. You can apply that, because this is something very difficult to get fund immediately, right? But if you put that in that particular grid, you will find resources. You will find individuals who will do this for you. So that's all I had. It's not a new subject. You all are aware about it. I just wanted to bring it, on in front of you. It's all buffet now. Whatever is in front of you, you take. Otherwise, if it is not visible, we forget it. But now, believe me, completely agree with getting funds is becoming tougher and tougher. It's with every day it is becoming, I think, tough. With every day the needs are becoming, from your side you will feel that I need more resources, but in that whole process, the three new things what we learned from today morning, for example, you only have to answer. I think this time the way sessions are being created is extremely important, because starting a workshop like this on need for research, real world evidence, and it all connects. That also helps you to do fundraising. If you have good evidence, solid, it's not only about talking from heart, but if you have data point, you will be able to generate better resources. Good resources, somebody wants to donate, they want a good organization, but how that good organization will come? Good organization need a good vehicle. We all want when we book Uber, we want the chamati sabse achhi car mere liye hai, nahi aati hai. Kyun? Because they are not putting enough focus on maintaining that car. So this is important. Everybody wants project. So again, remember that when you hire a taxi, don't always look for your car. That is important. Get that shined, serviced, adapted. कल बैटरी वाली कार लगेगी, डीजल नहीं चलेगा तो बैटरी के लिए गाड़ी को बनाना पड़ेगा, चार्जिंग स्टेशन ढूंढना पड़ेगा. But don't forget your vehicle, your taxi, your own organization. People will fund, they will go back, but you have to sustain, right? So focus on this. That's all I have for you. And as I say, that there are examples in this room. They have transformed their organization. Learn from them. There is a lot to learn. Thank you.
Prabhat, can I ask you a question?
Yes, Banga sir.
Adaptability to change is fine.
Yes.
But disappearance of NGOs is not understandable at all, because I feel that the presentations given here are for NGOs to become bigger and bigger, to do more and more. They need to become bigger and bigger, and they will naturally need more and more funds. I don't agree to that. Why do you need to become bigger and bigger? Let Tatas and Birlas become bigger and bigger. We are humble social workers. We don't need funds. We need the drive to work more, to deliver more. Funds to जिसके पास है उनको let them grow.
So बिल्कुल sir, ऐसी बिल्कुल
I don't
बंगा
know
साहब
why NGOs need to become big. I don't want to become big.
so to
I am an NGO. I am working for people who are sleeping on the patients.
समझ गया बंगा साहब अब आंसर देता हूँ टाइम कम है पहला सवाल I have not said big I said grow right
Okay.
so I have never used word big and even if so grow means अगर आज मैं धक्का मारने वाली गाड़ी भी है ना बिना डीजल के भी चल सकता हूँ तो चलूंगा और आगे 4 किलोमीटर और चलूंगा no doubt about it and absolutely I know you what you do and what great work what passion you bring you can work without money and many people also contribute without money there is no doubt about it now because we are talking in this particular room is organizations who want to make bigger impact they want to reach more and more people right in that context I was saying and अगर जैसे गाड़ी चलने के लिए डीजल पेट्रोल चाहिए ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को चलने के लिए फाइनेंस चाहिए right it cannot work with passion the organizations need resources if they want to be there and that's why you said that when you said when Wasif Saab said that organizations will die why we all get worried because we think about our organizations not about individuals you got worried and you said no we will not be on those 10 why it's not about you it's about your organization you never wanted your organization to die you wanted your organization to sustain and reach out to more people we will have this discussion sham ko phone karunga banga sir
Yeah, but then the gentleman who said NGOs will die I don't know he knows the first NGO
sham ko call karunga sir sham ko
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Sinha. Yeah.
पॉइंट है वो जूम कॉल में हमको भी ले लेना
नहीं वो बंगा साहब के साथ मेरा one on one होगा then we will do
Yeah. On a serious note, I would like to tell that this point, if anybody is interested, as you said, there's a cost for organization development. In India, for last almost, if I may know that, last almost 10 years, there are many NGOs or organizations which has come up as capacity building. So there are doing excellent work. For example, there is a toolbox, there is a SVP organization. If anybody is interested, they do on pro bono, they bring the best of resources, as you said, employee engagement, they get the best of resources for organization development, and they can come in and do the work which they can even actually dissect and diagnose and what exactly is required. So there are excellent organizations available to do this. It's a Belgium-based organization, the Toolbox.
do share those links with this WhatsApp
Definitely.
group
So there are a lot of beautiful organizations which will do excellent work.
And there are many more OD consultants sitting inside this room. One of them, trained I am Ahmedabad. So yeah, thank you.
That's why I say you have resources here, but put this as one of the agenda and use. There are so many people who have undergone this process, but put this as a project for your organization. That's all I wanted to leave you. Thank you.